Hello everyone and welcome back to Dicebreaker. We are here at Essen Spiel 2023.
Here we are, right in the thoroughfare, but also a lot of the way. It's fine, don't worry. We're not
in the heart of Germany where all of the board games live. Their little kingdom. We are going to be talking about 7 games today. I forgot I had a microphone in my hand. 7 games that were not necessarily the best games of the show, but the ones that we thought were the coolest from all the things that we've seen this weekend. We've seen a lot of games.
Oh, so many.
It was difficult to dwindle them down.
And also there's a lot we haven't got to play yet because queues are big and we're just trying what we have. But these ones we have played and we have just genuinely loved and can't wait to play again.
Yeah, for even more, check out Dicebreaker.com. But we will start with something that was absolutely fascinating.
Oh my god.
Altered TCG.
Yeah, a brand new TCG from the creators of Dixit, which might
from the creator of Dixit.
Of Dixit.
With new folks on the team who are veterans in TCG development. This was very much what felt like a proper innovation for the TCG market.
Really, which is a surprising thing
I don't think we've seen in a while.
It's hard to do that. We have Magic the Gathering, we have Yu-Gi-Oh, we have Pokemon, a couple of others are coming in, Lorcana's just out, but it's like, this is something completely new and super interesting. Like, I just desperately want to play some more. Like,
yeah, it's completely non-combat.
Yeah.
So there's no fighting, there's no damage. Like, it even makes Disney's Lorcana look violent in comparison.
Literally.
There is a whole faction that cannot remove people from the board because they're too nice.
Just
you are exploring a new world. There was this big cataclysmic event that essentially fused together the real world and the imaginary world. And now you've kind of got this like new expansive terrain to try and go out and found in basically like your ideals, and those are the sort of 6 factions you're playing as. But the truly fascinating thing about it, we could talk about this for hours, but we've only got so much time. The truly fascinating thing about it is it's the first ever print-on-demand TCG with digital ownership.
Idea.
I know what that sounds like. These aren't NFTs. It's fine.
Yes, no.
Not that we're aware of anyway. But essentially,
all.
whenever you get a booster pack, all the cards have QR codes on them. You can scan them in like a second. You just like lay them out and they're scanned. And then essentially you become the digital owner of that card.
Yeah.
As long as you own any card digitally, you can just pay the company directly for like less than $1 per card to just print as many copies as you want.
Yeah, I think they're trying to reach $1 per card. But genuinely like, that's the kind they're aiming for, as many.
Yeah.
Forever until you own it.
Doesn't matter how rare it is. And then the reason that doesn't completely break all collections is because essentially physical cards aren't worth anything anymore. And I know that sounds very strange, but if you're a casual player, you can just print off pretty much an entire set as long as you or your mates own it. You've got it, you can play as much as you want. If you want to play competitively, deck lists have to be officially verified with you as the digital owner. Yeah. So there will be an online marketplace in the way that you might do with like TCG Market. You can sell them to each other, and if you want to build a deck list, you have to own those. Once you own it digitally and you've bought it online, you can then start printing it. So there's a card you want, you can just buy the digital copy, start printing. But when it comes to actually playing, you can have as many of those cards as you want. You can do all kinds of crazy things with them.
You're casual, you can just print any deck you desire. Like, no worry about cost or anything. Like, it's super interesting.
There's also like a Keyforge thing where they're like algorithmically generating unique versions of cards, which are the altered versions. So it's like every card is essentially a common. And then every single one then has upgraded versions, which can be rares and then uniques. And your unique card, literally only you in the entire world,
one of a kind,
digitally own that card.
And again,
you can print it off as many times as you want.
Yeah. But if you want to play it like at your local game store in a tournament, you just have that one. And I think there's a limit of like 1 per or 3 per deck or something.
3 per deck.
They're
so it's
still
not
playing around with
going to be
it's not
completely randomized decks, but it gives it a little bit of spice, is how they put it. We think it looks fascinating. It plays really, really well.
And amazing art style.
Yeah.
Just want to
Beautiful art, really inclusive.
Incredible.
And again, we could talk about this for ages. I know we already have. Let's move on. Our second game.
Speaking of amazing artwork.
Oh my god,
it's an RPG called Household. I don't know how I missed this. Like, Dicebreaker.com posted about it in March, but somehow I missed this. It went to Kickstarter, it's out now. It is an RPG where it's basically like Napoleonic Regency trappings, but you're little borrower people in an old abandoned house.
Called Litlings.
It's Litlings. And it's like got fey kind of like folklore vibes, so you can be like boggarts and like little fairies and stuff. And you're like fighting out in this like big historical kind of like chapters of like relationships and households and things like that, and fighting like spider gods and things.
Yeah.
Like, it's so amazing and fantasy.
I immediately saw a Litling bounty hunter who has not a key sword. No, it's not Kingdom Hearts. It's a key gun. And it looks sick.
Because they're just using like random metal they find around this big old house.
Yeah.
A key.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
it's
everything
so
bigger than them
cool.
becomes like mythical, right?
Yeah,
so
things they can use.
the spiders are gods, and they will sign like
huge.
demonic pacts with you and stuff
Oh my
like that.
God.
But they've also got this very like, which got you immediately hooked, this kind of Regency vibe.
Yeah.
So it very much means that you'll be going to fancy balls and you'll hold office positions, and your decorum is like a stat that you have
You
in
can
game.
like either be dressed really well and like do really well in like fancy balls, but then if you go out kind of like on the rough streets of like the household, then
Yeah.
people are kind of going to look at you funny, and then like vice versa.
Yeah,
it's like
criminals are gonna be
your
like, "Who's this
social
idiot?"
standing
You know?
is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so interesting. Like,
It uses like a
very
really fun
excited.
sort of like matching dice system.
Yeah.
It's like, it reminded me a little bit of Fortune in the Dark from the start, but
Yeah.
then each of those symbols can like trigger new abilities. It looks really cool.
It's good.
Actually, I don't know if you've played this, but the thing it reminded me the most of, despite it being dice, was the Malifaux miniatures game, where if you get certain
No, I
symbols,
haven't played it.
if you get certain symbols, it will kind of like trigger cool abilities for you, which is very, very fun and very unique.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that's Household, yeah.
It seems great. Yeah, like relatively like simple system that's very narrative driven and things to like
Yeah.
really lean into that, but just fantastic.
Beautiful,
Cannot wait to
beautiful
play.
book. Yeah. Moving on, we actually played from the creators of Star Realms,
yeah.
a new deck builder, which is very Star Realms like adjacent.
Yeah.
Like it's very much they're playing to their strengths here. But instead of just making another thing where it's like, you know, we have a deck and then it's just the deck that is there and then we play against each other like a TCG, instead, this has a sort of grid board which you actually use for like combat, because you are playing little battle bots.
It's just Robot Wars, the
Yeah.
like deck building board game.
So good.
You have these incredible, really chunky miniatures that you're moving around and fighting each other with.
Like properly painted.
The art
Yeah.
style is what again dragged me, and I saw it across the room, and I was like, we have to go over there, and
Yeah.
we did, and I'm forever thankful.
Yeah, it's so great. So imagine, like, gameplay-wise,
Yeah.
outside of the board, yeah, it's Star Realms. You get, like, money and damage, in this case, weapons, so,
Yeah.
you know, you have to be, like, next to someone if you want to hit them, but then you do damage, and you use your money to buy new cards, which does more. You can unlock synergies, you get, like, card
Building
draw.
up your little robot,
Yeah.
adding new things, adding a new gun, adding
Yeah.
new like little parts and stuff, reprogramming. Oh, it's
But then you look
really
to the board
fun.
side, and you are a physical thing that moves
Yeah.
around. So instead of just saying, Maddie, you take 2 damage, instead it's, okay,
You're
well, I've got a
seeing
range
it.
2 weapon that I can do 2 damage with. Essentially, that damage becomes your victory points, because it's also plays with, like, 4+ players. You've got all kinds of sort of, like, Battle Royale kind of vibes to it, where you're pushing people into spikes and, like, opening trapdoors.
so
It
fun.
comes with 4 robots, so it plays 4,
Yeah.
but then you can buy, like, little blister packs, which have new robot with its own ability,
Yep.
new set of cards, so new, like,
Play new
basically
things.
ways to play are added into your deck, and then also new kind of terrain,
like-
which you can play around with.
mix up the arena, new stuff. There's like a trash compactor which you might
Yeah.
fall down, so it's like, but you can also run across it. Like
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things. It's
Look,
again,
just
it's like
really,
it's
really
nicely
fun.
simple. 'Cause
Yeah.
we played it quite late at night, but like we just had a great time. Like it's not like crazy complex. It's quite like almost miniatures game adjacent. If you just want to like grab some big chunky things out on a board, move them around and fight each other. But
It doesn't
so
demand a
fun.
lot of your brain, and
Yeah.
yet there is a nice upper limit to it where it's
Yes.
like you can be playing really synergistically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Start
like we
building
had
those
some lovely
decks.
turns where it's just like I do this,
Boom,
which
boom,
triggers
boom,
this,
boom,
which triggers
boom.
this, and it's just
grab you,
really
move
nice.
into a spike pack.
It's like it's a real like popcorn game.
Yeah,
and
very much. Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah,
adored
yeah.
it. Beautiful art, fantastic. From Wise Wizard Games, the creators of Star Realms. Moving on to our fourth. This is one that I'm incredibly excited
Yes,
about,
you're
and I'm
obsessed.
wielding my microphone like a sword because this is Kiri-ai, the Duel. This is like a
Well done.
€15. Only 16 cards in
Oh
a
my
little
God,
cloth wallet.
tiny little
and
thing,
it
yeah.
blew mine and Matt's mind.
Yeah.
It was 1 a.m. and we played until 2 and then played more at breakfast. Like we had so much fun with it.
You guys are obsessed. I love it.
You are basically like dueling samurai,
Yeah.
slashing your katanas at each other, and each of you dies in 2 hits.
Yeah. Oh,
You
it's so quick.
Yeah, it's lethal. You get hit twice, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
But every turn, you're on this kind of like a piste. If you were jousting,
Yeah.
not jousting. What's it called? Rapiers. You know the one.
Yeah.
Fencing. That's the one. You're kind of only moving backward and forward. So you've got like these sort of positional markers, and then you kind of move back and forth relative to your opponent.
Yeah.
Then you have like 3 attacks that target very specific things
Yeah.
in reference to where you are. So you've got like one that can target like 1 space away, one that's on your space, one that's 2 spaces away, and then you've also got stance. So
Yes.
your character can either be in heaven stance or earth stance, so like high and low.
Makes
And
sense.
certain attacks only work when you're using one of those stances.
Yes.
So it's very much like this strategical play of like, I'm stepping back and forth and predicting where your enemy's going to be and what they're going to do.
Like you were saying, like you know that Matt's going to rush in every time. So you're always prepared.
He was
for
like,
it.
he always starts with the 2 rush forward move, so I'm just going to slash into him straight away. And then what adds a little spice as well is you've got these basically like special attack cards.
Yes.
There's 3 of them, and each of you is randomly assigned 1. It's only got 1 use, and they're very powerful, but once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
One of which is a counter attack as well.
So good.
Only works if you get hit and they take the damage instead, which is always
very
it's just like
satisfying.
But yeah, you've also got this system where basically whenever you play your cards, you play 2 at once. The second one basically gets put in reserve for the turn, so you can never play the same second action twice.
Yeah.
And it also gives a bit of information to your opponent about what they can't do on
So you
their
can't
turn.
do like, I know you can't do a close-up attack next time, so
Yeah.
maybe like I'll stay close.
As long as I'm on your space, I'm
me.
safe, right?
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. You
That's
also
very
have this
cool.
system whereby if you both hit each other at the exact same time, your swords clash against each other.
Which is so
no one gets
fun.
damaged, which is very cool.
Oh, I love
So there's
that.
loads of like fun little systems that are incredibly simple on their
Yeah,
own.
definitely.
But once you get that kind of play of like trying to predict your opponent,
Yeah.
trying to work out what they're doing next and like reading them, beautiful, fantastic. I've written more about it on Dicebreaker.com. Head on over there for that. So going even further into like simple realm,
Yeah.
this game is like ridiculously simple because
Oh,
it's basically
so
a party
simple.
game. This is Whoforwat. This is a game that isn't actually out yet. It's going to be
coming
out next year, like early next year.
And I can't wait. I'll be buying it immediately.
We were so upset when we heard that news. We want it now.
I want no game more than that. I'm obsessed. We basically went to Blue Orange. They ran us through a bunch of games that are coming up, and this is the one that is stuck with us.
Yeah.
We were arguing about our decisions, like
over dinner,
dates, dinner, breakfast. You're basically. It's a cooperative game where you're all trying to kind of work together, and you're voting on questions that you get about cards in front of you. So it's like kind of like Adventure Time style illustrative art.
You got like 6 characters,
characters.
very cartoony, like you said, and she described them as like they're eccentrics. You know, they're all a little bit weird, a little bit odd.
Yeah.
You know, they've all got a little bit of a quirk to them.
And you're trying to collect them all, so you want to vote on the same ones to collect them, and at the end you have a vote on who is the best.
Yeah.
And it is literally things so simple, like the most contentious question we had, which is, who is George?
Yeah, which one of these guys is named George?
You're looking at them, you're like, okay, who do I think is George? Me and Matt voted correctly together.
And I voted the same as one of the other people who didn't speak a word of English, but we were both just like, yeah, you know, George, you know, that vibe.
Look at the art.
So I'm telling you. But yeah, it's just perfect. It's very like herd mentality.
Yeah.
It's also got that kind of like Mysterium vibe. But what's fun is, or it might be fun for some, might not be for others, you don't have a clue giver. It's just a random clue each time. You just all have to decide. So there is no actual information.
No.
It's all vibe check.
It's just vibes,
Yeah.
you know, vibes alone.
It's kind of like that TikTok where they play Guess Who, but they're only allowed to ask vibe-based questions. Like, for example, do they go to church? Are they a big drinker? Etc. It's
Literally
fantastic.
that. So simple, so fun. Can't wait to play more.
We're gagging for it, honestly. Next up, we have Critter Kitchen, Maddie.
Oh, Critter Kitchen.
I'll let you describe this one.
This is from Lucky Duck, who you might know from Flamecraft, which were last year's Tabletop Awards winners that we run at PAX Unplugged. And People's Choice Voting is open right now.
Yeah,
so
sponsored by Misty Mountain Gaming. We will be there at PAX Unplugged for the next year's awards. Get on the website, nominate your games if you're watching this.
Yes, do that too.
Yeah.
So it is the artist who did Flamecraft, which was a very fun, very good game. And now they've done something kind of equally cutesy in some ways, which is Critter Kitchen, where you're like little animals and you're trying to go into town, collect ingredients, and build up meals for a critic who has come to town.
Yeah.
But because you're all restaurants competing with each other, it has this quite mean
You're
element.
in the hub of restaurants.
Yeah.
It's very Gordon Ramsay.
Oh,
you know, where's the lamb sauce is being shouted out by these adorable
you're
animals.
getting the carrots, mine. Like there's a lot of very things around like stay away from my ingredients. Yeah, it's got like a nice complexity. There's like rumors and things, and like different like chef interns you can collect to like use each turn.
It seems very simple of like you're secretly voting on where you want to go to get your ingredients. You've got a 1-speed, a 2-speed, and a 3-speed chef. And basically, the lower the number, the higher the priority of the pick. But the higher the number, the more they can take home.
Yes.
So if you get your 3 characters somewhere where no one else has gone, you're in the money.
So many ingredients.
But if they're there and everyone else has turned up, it's like, well, I'm not going to have anything left by the time they've picked. Yeah.
Because like you might not be wanting the same ingredients as other people, but like so for example, we had a critic who was a mouse, and so cheese was perfect.
Loves
so we were
cheese.
all constantly fighting over a cheese, often
Yeah.
just ignoring some of the other challenges we had.
Yeah.
Just because we knew at the end game we would have this meal to present to this chef, and it had to be perfect.
Yeah, you got this rumor system as well, where it's basically like people spreading whispers about what the critic likes and what you should lean towards. So it's like, oh, we heard the critic. I know he loves cheese, but he actually really likes fish as well. So make sure you get a good fish thing, so you'll get double points. Yeah.
Oh, it's very good.
So good,
It's
really, really lovely.
fun.
It's got that same like vibe as Flamecraft, but
Yeah.
way more competitive, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Flamecraft is very like, oh, I'll do this thing, and it's like, oh, you went to the space I
Yeah.
wanted. This is like, I needed that carrot. How could
dare
you do
you?
this to me? Which, yeah, big fan
Which was
of.
fun. I
Yeah.
really liked it.
Lovely,
I
lovely
wanna
little
play more.
stuff.
It is coming to
hitting
Kickstarter
soon, right? Yeah.
end of October, I think, 26th, I want to say.
Nice.
You can sign up on their website and see when it comes out.
The
But yeah.
sort of like notify us when it's live page is live
Yes.
now. And then moving on to our final game that we have picked out. This is a
Pretty
tiny
much
little one.
One of the first ones you played as well.
Yeah, literally, first thing we played when we walked into the hall, I was actually already excited about it before
Yes.
we came. And then I saw it, I was like, oh, it's that game. And he was like, do you want to play? I was like, yeah, absolutely.
So good.
This is tiny mini golf. This is a roll and write where instead of like, you know, you're like usually like making train tracks or like collecting little sort of tricks or using points. In this one, you're making a mini golf course for your opponent.
It's literally that simple but so fun. You basically roll dice and you have walls, water and sand, and on your grid you are drawing like obstacles basically. Like you have your starting hole, your finish hole, you're drawing them, and then after you've done that you would pass it to the person next to you, and then they have to get another set of dice to roll to kind of like knock their ball through. Different effects if you go on a wall, sand and water obviously. But my favourite bit is halfway through crafting a course, the person who is going to play yours gets to add like
Gets
2
to mess
things
with it.
like for a round. Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, it's like, and like there's a lot of that kind of, it feels very golfy because you're picking your power, but obviously you're not perfect, so you can overspill. So it'll be like, I want to go power 3 because then I'll be perfectly lined up with the hole, but you might accidentally roll +1 or +2, then you'll hit the wall, bounce back, and it feels so golfy. But it's kind of when you're playing it, when you're doing the roll and right, it feels like a tower defense game. Where you're like, I need to make the most complicated route to the hole possible,
not get your
so that
golf
it takes them
ball.
ages, because it is golf scoring, so whoever gets the lowest score wins, and then there's an extra sort of, if you're playing with more than 2, the person that you get, you also minus their score from your score, or something along those lines. So it basically means that it's not just about you doing well on your course, it's about making sure the other person did poorly on yours.
So then you get even less of a score.
It's just, love it. It's just one of those games that just explains itself, and it's just like, I love this, I could play this for hours.
Literally.
Sat in a cozy little pub.
I'm desperate to play more.
Yeah.
It's available to print. It's available to print and play now. They're fulfilling the Kickstarter, and then I think then it'll be available for people, so you can kind of get a very basic version.
Yeah, they've kind of said that there's a lot of setup to. They've kind of said that there's a lot of setup for like going to your local friendly game store and they'll print it off for you and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how that's
nice.
running, but you can check it out on the Kickstarter page. But yeah, just lovely, and it's really nice to see like a very small developer. It's always so cute when you get to go to a show and see this person be like, "It's my, it's like my first game, and like I've just worked on this."
Very good.
And we're like, "This is great, man! I love this."
So excited to play more.
But yeah, that is our top 7 of the show. There's so much more that we saw, so much we want to talk about. It's all on Dicebreaker.com. We'll be posting loads about it on TikTok as well. If you haven't followed us on TikTok yet, get on over there. We are Join Dicebreaker. We've been making some very, very stupid content, and we want you to see it.
Lots more coming.
But if you want to see more of us here on youtube.com/Dicebreaker, then please hit the subscribe button, click the bell icon to get notified whenever we put a new video live. You can just give us a like and a comment as well, because it helps with the algorithm. And damn, it's tough out here on YouTube. I prefer on TikTok. We'll also be over on Dicebreaker.com, where you can also go to Dicebreaker.com/subscribe to help us out just as a business, really. Yeah. It helps us pay the bills. It helps us do what we want to do, make this fantastic content that you love. It gives you loads of cool rewards.
Discounts on tickets to things like PAX Unplugged. Sometimes on local game stores you can check out. You get PDFs and things are free. And if you sign up for an entire year, you get a free board game.
We also get you nice little discounts on like fun experiences and things like that. Yeah. You can learn how to play Warhammer 40k from a pro for cheaper. All kinds of stuff. It's really good. You also get ad-free viewing on the site and it helps us immensely. So get on over there. But thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next video. But until then, have a lovely day.